On the Fringe with Dan Radio Style. Hope everybody out there's having themselves a great day. Nuclear war is basically what the deep state is trying to leave us with. For all the Democrats out there, this is what your administration's trying to leave the world with on the way out the door. You guys are so pissed off that Trump is going to stop the war that you would rather escalate it to nuclear war. No idea what the hell's going on in the minds of the left right now because they're supporting this stuff, I think. If not, I hope this is a wake-up call. We'll see. Got a whole lot to talk about. A lot going on with transitions and the court stuff with Trump and everything else under the sun. Get into it. Just want to start off with the dance. The dance has taken the nation by storm. Gotta love this dance.
Era una buena oportunidad para Jamaica, le digo. McKennie pide por ese libre para el primero, va el primero, viene, gol. ¡Gol!
It's the freaking dance that everybody loves doing. It's awesome. Trump is smart man. It's like a dance anybody can do. You can be in a wheelchair as long as you're not, paralyzed on the arms. You could do the dance. Trump's planning to attend Musk's SpaceX launch today. He's already landed in Texas to make this possible. So very cool. This is the sixth test of the Starship rocket. This is the one that lands itself and the little catcher and all that stuff. This launch is supposed to be happening today, 5 p.m. Eastern time. Partially why I'm recording now, because I would actually like to watch this launch. Should be fun. It's kind of, making rockets exciting again, even though I think we have technology that's like into anti-gravitics and stuff like that. So I'm not really sure why we're doing chemical rockets. Maybe this is just part of our transition. Who knows? Bill Clinton suggests the Democrats get they need to get a little bit better with the people that are non-educated. What he had to say was reasonable, and there's some of the people on the left right now that I think are really, truly acknowledging the problem that the left has at the moment. And there's a number of aspects to it, and there's also, I think, division within their own party. They're not necessarily talking about that here, but I think Bill Clinton's hinting at the larger problem, all the while still being douchey in his own Bill Clinton kind of way.
I don't mean that we don't have work to do. We got to get either in better tune with non-college educated America, or we certainly have to talk to them more. And I don't agree that you have to just roll over and play dead and be like everybody else. Keep in mind, all elections are decided at the margins, and we're living in a period of time when they're pretty close. You can say whatever you say, but the Democrats won the popular vote in every election but two since I left office. So we must have been doing something right. But we also have to realize that we do better because people hire us to solve problems. They would hire Trump to gripe about problems. He's a genius at it.
But people who voted for him think he's going to solve their problems.
I know they do. So we'll see. He deserves a chance. But I don't think that we should just roll over and, cry ourselves to sleep at night. I think we just get up every morning and suit up and see what happens and keep working. But I do think it is a mistake to try to avoid difficult questions. You should just face it, say whatever you got to say, and go on.
So he's saying a lot with a little time. It's shocking. So I don't know how much of that can possibly be. What's also interesting is him calling out the griping about the problem. If you think about that for a second, that's kind of interesting. What does Trump constantly talk about? Fake media, how deep state, cabal, blah, 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 right? That's it. He talks a lot about all that stuff. The constant failures, griping about all the problems. And Bill knows, as a deep state dude, and someone I think that was controlled from early on. I think that stuff that they were doing with the drug running through Arkansas, it was like he was toast from day one. So that, of course, made him a perfect candidate to be president. So he knows the way the game's played, and I don't think has much of a conscience. So was fine doing whatever As long as he gets paid, as long as he has a great life, as long as he keeps getting blowjobs with cigars and women's vaginas and stuff, as long as he gets to keep enjoying being Bill Clinton. As long as he doesn't probably have to have sex with that wife, Hillary Clinton. Good God. Can't even imagine. Can't even imagine. God help everybody. She wasn't even cute when she was cute. That's the problem. All said, he's calling out some interesting points. And I wonder if Trump has actually meant more to not just, like he said, fix the problem. We'll see. Everyone deserves their chance. And he's, I think, calling out the last person that really gave it their all to try to change things was probably Kennedy. Maybe Reagan as the last next one to try to step up and make a change. Trump is unique and has already been shot once and potential attempts twice on top of the once actual. I think that's actually what Bill's talking about. Who knows? Washington Post columnist says media spun for Democrats under threat of blowback from the left. Again, some of the people are actually coming out and calling a spade. And good. I mean, here's the way I see it is I think the Democrat Party is going to fracture. I think the part of the Democrat Party that's going to survive, if it does at all, I know there's a lot of people that say it needs to come down, Dan. There's a lot of crap in the Republican Party. I'm still going to say it back and forth always. There's some crappy-ass people that are quick to, you have to do it this way because it's what God said, and I don't want to give you the opportunity to sin, so I'm going to take away that right. And I don't mean abortion. I just mean other things, sometimes drugs, other stuff like that. Like smoking pot, stupid. That should just be legal. It's stupid. Tobacco's legal. Why can't you smoke pot? Again, should you be able to do it in front of kids? Should you be able to yes, let's make it much like cigarettes. Kids can't buy cigarettes. Kids can't smoke. Kids can't do dip. Kids, all that stuff. So again, whatever. That's just one example. There's, I think, a bunch of stuff where people have very strong beliefs and they don't want anyone else to do it because they believe it's wrong. Both sides do that. Both sides. Left is just, they're all into some really immoral stuff, I think, is kind of one of the problems. Whatever. So this lady's calling it out. This is Megan McArdle. Sounds like something you would get at McDonald's. I'd like the McArdle. Yes. No, yes, with syrup, please. Yeah, of course. I don't know. Is it actually good without? Get out of here. That's crazy. No, last time I had a McArdle, I had syrup. During this election cycle, I watched in astonishment as left-wing critics complained that the mainstream media was botching this election by sane-washing Trump, failing in our duty to cover not the odds but the stakes and trading in false equivalents. I was not astonished that progressives wanted us to spend more time criticizing Trump and less time pointing out the flaws of Joe Biden or Kamala Harris. I was amazed because they were talking as if this might affect the election's outcome. This was damaging for the news media that had already spent down the very reputational capital that progressive critics were begging us to use. But it was also bad for Democrats. By letting them win so many news cycles, we handed them a series of Pyrrhic victories. Hope I'm saying that right. She continues, the stories that mattered the most during this year's campaign were the ones where we had given Democrats the most help. In the 2020 election cycle, Democratic primary contenders counted on us to give them room to move well to the left, especially on the social issues, which is how Harris created the fodder for this year's negative ads against her. This cycle, Democrats counted on us to downplay Biden's shocking and obvious decline. The issue was handled with kid gloves, under the threat of blowback from campaign operatives, and even fellow journalists. McArdle added several mainstream outlets repeated the Democratic spin that accurate videos of his concerning behavior, that they were cheap fakes. She continues, in the age of the internet, it is no longer possible to win elections by working the refs because the only decisions that matter are made by the folks in the stands. The refs can keep your coalition in line, but they can't help you expand it. Indeed, they're likely to shrink it, as more people conclude that the game is rigged, which means the more often your party wins the calls, the more frequently they will lose the game. Kind of a neat way that she puts it. And again, she's calling out some of the overwhelming problems that these people have right now. Now, Elon Musk has made a pretty strong statement here. said Matt Gaetz has 3 critical assets that are needed for the AG's role: a big brain, a spine of steel, and an axe to grind. He is the Judge Dredd America needs to clean up a corrupt system and put powerful bad actors in prison. Gaetz will be our hammer of justice. And then he continued, as for these accusations against him, I consider them worthless than nothing. Under our laws, a man is considered innocent until proven guilty. If A.G. Garland, an unprincipled douchebag, could have secured a conviction against Gaetz, he would have. But he knew he could not. Case closed. He's right. Musk is 100% right. They're talking a lot about this in the media right now. Talking a lot about it. Now, here's another interesting individual. The head of FEMA chief. She's going to face questions about the government's response to Hurricanes Helene and Milton. Obviously, failures. Obviously, the whole problem with them not going to homes that had Trump's support. Now, the angle that she's going to come at it with, and we know that because the person that got her in trouble to begin with has now come out to say, well, houses where they didn't feel safe because there were some problems in the past. You know, those supposed 2 stories of trucks driving around with people with weapons that were looking for FEMA. Remember that one? That was a bullshit story, probably, but likely is going to be the example they're going to use for why they were scared. But here's the thing. If you're scared, bring cops with you to the door. The fact of the matter is, FEMA, you're there to help execute emergency management, not political fear. And this is one of the problems that she's going to have to face. Now, of course, like I said, she's going to talk about how, well, we were scared for our lives. Bring cops. Sorry, doesn't work. You guys can go in groups and have a cop just stand out. Any one of you screams, I'll come running with my gun. Don't mean like it's done. Like it's not that big a deal. And I don't think anyone just immediately opened fire with an M60 the second you went knocking on the door, FEMA. Please. So obviously, maybe some people were a little rattled, but ultimately, I think the number of actual legit stories are probably minimal, if any. So we'll see what comes out. Again, investigations. Hakeem Jeffries has been reelected as House Democratic leader. And just want to let you guys know, I have vowed to, anytime I play any video of him talking, I will play it at 2 times speed, just so it sounds normal. That's all. It's not really why I shared this. Figure it matters that he's won the minority leader spot. That's, I guess, not surprising to me anyways. Senator Mark Wayne Mullen gives his backing to Matt Gaetz on CNBC as they're trying to obviously besmirch Matt Gaetz. This guy does a pretty good job getting some admirable defense to the good man. It's interesting.
I think the president wants a hammer at the DOJ, and he sees Matt Gaetz as a hammer and all these other appointments. He is he's very confident in where they're at and can deliver the administration that he's wanting. His picks have been maybe unconventional, but we hired an unconventional president, and the American people wanted that. They don't want politics as usual. They want someone that's going to shake up Washington, D.C., and President Trump proved he could do that in 2016, and we've had great results with the economy that followed. The American people saw what happened underneath the Biden administration, and it went to I'm going to use good words here. It went to heck in a handbasket. And then we see where the American people said, we're tired of that. We want something different. So the American people want it to be shook up. And the president is maybe using some picks for these positions that's not conventional, but it's what the American people wanted.
Big time what they wanted. And again, some people have figured it out. Some haven't. Perfect example of someone who hasn't. Nancy Pelosi is finished, is what this article is suggesting. No one deserves more blame for Dems' $1 billion electoral collapse than this lady. Kind of a good short article. Let's do it. It's high time to shatter the myth of Nancy Pelosi as a master strategist. Nobody deserves more blame than the ridiculously self-titled Speaker Emerita for the Democrats' $1 billion electoral collapse, $1 billion electoral collapse. Under her ruthless leadership, her party lost the White House, the House, the Senate, and the popular vote. You can't say that enough. Voters rejected the Dems from coast to coast, even in Pelosi's deepest blue home city of San Francisco, which saw a 7-point swing for Donald Trump. She's the only speaker in history to have lost control of the House twice. And yet, she's still going to rerun again. She still thinks she's relevant. Yeah, no, we got to remind her that she's definitely not. Sure, unidentified. So we had an unidentified hacker, quote unquote, that has gained access to the computer file shared in a secure link among lawyers whose clients have given damaging testimony related to Matt Gaetz. And then it leaked. And then Morning Joe and Mika were talking about it this morning as fact. That there's information that says Matt Gaetz had sex with an underage lady. Well, that's what one of these people testified. We don't know anything about the context, whether or not there was cross-examination, whether or not there was anything to indicate this was bullshit, whether or not this was just some interview that was given of claims that were made about Gaetz, because again, you're assumed innocent until proven guilty. At least I've been fair even to the people on the left in regards to that. So this is funny how this is hacked, then leaked, and now MSNBC's running with leaked, hacked information, which, well, that's illegal, actually. Mika and Joe, it's actually illegal to do that. You guys know that. That's the whole argument you made with the Hunter Biden laptop, right? Hacked information can't, it's not even real anyway. The FBI says it's Russian disinformation. Okay, we'll see how it plays out for you guys. We'll see. It should be fun. Should be good times ahead. It's going to be a fight. Oh, I did bring it up. Look at this. Yeah, what the hell? We'll play some of it. I am not going to get in the habit of this, I swear, because it makes like bile come up in my throat. But listening to them talk about hacked, leaked information such as fact, like they do, even though Gaetz has not had a fair trial, has not had any trial. This is just people's alleged allegations. Is it just me, or I'm going to allege this for a second, but doesn't he look like Chandler, the dead guy from Friends? I always thought it was kind of funny.
I just want to say thank you, first of all, to everybody who was so kind last night, but also thank you. Willie, yesterday I saw for the first time what a massive disconnect there was between social media and the real world, because we were flooded with phone calls from people all day, literally around the world. Very positive, very supportive, going, understand what you do, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But once in a while I would get a text or a call from someone and go, oh man, I hope you're doing okay. And I call him back and I go, well, Eddie Gladwin went up and we go, Eddie, are you on Twitter? And he goes, I am. I go, okay, well, I'm not. So we've had a good day. Mika just had a wonderful event, and it's fantastic. We're going to do all of us are going to do the best we can do, and we're all working towards a better America.
Take it day by day.
Day by day. And again, you can predict the future by shaping the future. But the reason I wanted to talk about that 1/4 of Americans voted for Donald Trump, about 1/4 voted for Kamala Harris is, there's another election in 2 years. Now, I don't care who wins and how big they win. We've seen time and again, and we talk about it. Americans go back and forth and back and forth and back and forth with their picks. If Republicans, if Donald Trump, if Republican senators put in as an attorney general somebody that 3 women have testified, I believe, if I'm correct. He had sex with an underage woman at a drug-fueled party. And what I read in the Wall Street Journal was he paid 2 other women for sex. If that is something that Republican senators and Donald Trump are okay with, there will be consequences at the voting booth 2 years from now. And of course,
and just to, finally he got there. But the fact of the matter is if you are using and referencing sources that are leaked, you guys are not going to make it. Now, again, propaganda media is how the game is playing. And this is part of the war that we're fighting. I don't particularly care what they say because their ratings are so abysmal, but they did have that moment of weird clarity the other day, which I just continued. I thought it was an outsider thing. It was not normal, and here they are, back to normal, kind of misshaping news in order to try to push a narrative. But again, they're not the media. We are. So, all right, Joe and Mika, game on. Have fun, guys. Because, I'm a much lower budget thing than you guys. That's for sure. You guys are millions and millions of dollars and camera crews and studios and all this great stuff. Not even close to all that. We've got some interesting stuff here. And let's cover it just blindly. Because I think it'll be more fun that way. It's about, Katie Hobbs and her being a law-breaking governor, potentially.
We will not be participating in misguided efforts that harm our communities, and I've been incredibly clear about that.
So you disagree with mass deportations and the fact that the president-elect says that's what he's going to be working on day one?
Well, I think that those efforts are going to divert needed resources that we need here.
They need to educate themselves. They need to review this. Title 8, United States Code 1324, III. Read about that and don't cross that line because it is a felony to harbor and conceal an illegal alien from ICE. Read the statute, don't cross that line.
I always love that one. That one cracks me up every single time. The dude that falls in front, the look on the dude's face. I love it. Every time I say it, it's powerful. Well done. The meme that keeps on giving. But yeah, don't cross that line, all you governors that are trying to sign some secret pact. Great, you're going to go to jail publicly. It'll be fantastic. We'll all enjoy it. A lot of us will make all sorts of noise about it. Speaking of illegality, this is, let's call it huge or huge. The Pennsylvania Supreme Court has mandated that counties leaning Democratic cease the tallying of any mail-in ballots that have been deemed invalid. I think this leaning Democratic part is added by the author. But the Supreme Court says anybody doing this, that just happens to be the left-leaning counties doing it, any of you all cease the tallying of any mail-in ballots that have been deemed invalid. RNC Chairman Michael Whatley on X said, no more excuses. Election officials in Bucks, Montgomery, Philadelphia, and other counties have absolutely no choice but to reject illegal ballots. We will hold them to it. Elections could change in Pennsylvania because of this. This is something that the courts have already talked about. Supreme Court, I think it was West Virginia, or something like that, where the Supreme Court already said, based off the state's constitution, citizenship was a mandatory thing for the ability and right to vote. Already been precedent set. We have to stay on top of this. I think we're going to, but we need to keep making noise, that's for sure. This is one of those things where we're like, well, we won the election. We won the election way bigger than what it looks like. And that's been the whole point of this. Closer to 2/3 of the voting population actually supports Trump. It was significantly larger, and the red wave was much, much more red than it is. We just have to keep the pressure on. We can't let this go. 2020, we didn't give up for 4 years. Why are we going to give up on 2020 even yet? 2024, I think, is going to be the gateway back to 2022, back to 2020. It's going to unravel a whole lot of nightmare. It's going to be fantastic. And yeah, it's probably not going to be good for the big picture. There's a lot of things going on in the world right now that would suggest that calamity is sort of occurring, and the potentiality of World War III, that would be bad for the stock markets. Nuked countries don't make products anymore. We've got a problem on this planet, and a lot of it is the deep state. It's what it comes down to. Now, this is kind of how I work my world, right? Don't do as I say if you don't wish. Like, I don't know, just me offering a little nickel's worth of free advice, as they would say. We've got this strange system that's definitely not working. And in fact, we can tell they're actually trying to push us into a negative direction. A negative direction. The war thing they're trying to do right now with the use of long-range munitions that they've already used, by the way. It's already happened. Already happened. Supposedly Russia shot them down. We'll get there. Supposedly. And that's a good answer, by the way, that Russia shot them down, because that means there's not necessarily a reason to go nuclear yet. But this is what the deep state's trying to hand off to Trump. If you don't think some potential weird stuff's going to bump around early on, I don't know. To me, it's like I have a hard time trusting. I don't trust the system. I don't trust the Federal Reserve. It's a central bank. It's a privately owned organization. It's not even federal. It has the word federal in it. It's not owned by the United States. It's not ours. It's a central bank owned by a private family. Feel free to look it up. That's a fact check thing. Have fun with it all day long. It's true. It's not owned by the government. But it says federal. I know. They can call it whatever the hell they want. It's not actually part of the United States. I don't trust their system. I was, back in the day, I had some retirement money dumped into a Fidelity account, 401k, because that's what you're supposed to do. And a lot of us have amassed quite a decent chunk of wealth. And staying in their system, if that system collapses at all, that wealth gets collapsed also. Not to mention the fact that inflation's been huge. So these are some bad things towards your general wealth in a 401k or an IRA. There's a way to get out of it. It's tax-free and it's penalty-free. I mean, this is one of the many reasons why, one, I partnered with Goldco. I love these guys. But two, why I realized putting some money into precious metals and getting out of their system was just smart. It's not something that Goldco necessarily supports. They just make the precious metal transition easy. That's what they do. That's what they're about. They're not any of my crazy beliefs, right? That's not them. They're legal. That's why they have 5 stars. And it's Crazy Dan that says what I say. These guys can make it happen easily and quickly. All the questions you want get answered easily, beautifully. Their customer service is bar none. I'm a customer too. I've bought precious metals from them. It's a great experience. I was very, very impressed. I was very, very happy with it. And they've been awesome to me from the standpoint of being partnered up with them. Just all the communications I have from that standpoint. It's been amazing. They've been extraordinary. They can help you guys too. You can get out tax-free, penalty-free from that 401k, that IRA. Get out of that system, tax-free, penalty-free, into precious metals IRAs. It's physical metal that's put like in a trust, right? It's not given to you because that's like cashing out, right? And then you get raped with penalties and taxes. So you move it sideways, straight into precious metals. These guys help us in every step of the way. I believe there was DocuSign too when I was doing it. I don't know if they do that kind of stuff. I don't know. I don't know how everything works, but they did with me, and it was awesome. It's just amazingly quick and easy. So if you've got the information on whatever your 401k, you know what the balance is, and you've got the account numbers and stuff. I mean, these are just things that are going to help you move the process along. But 4 data points, what they want, you actually qualify up to 10%. 10% of whatever the face value is, 10% of free silver towards this purchase, this agreement. Literally 10% of the value. Powerful. Go to drslikesgold.com. drslikesgold.com. Get out of that system. Get out quickly. Get out tax-free, penalty-free, and get into something that's doing incredibly well because of the craziness in the world. Every time the world's gotten crazy, silver spikes. And since we got off the gold standard, gold's been slowly and steadily spiking and has actually gone quite vertical these days, and seems to continue to want to move in that direction. The dollar's not getting stronger, and the way we're financing debt is only killing the dollar on a regular basis. Writing's on the wall for a lot of people. Get into precious metals. It's actually riding the wave and sitting positive right now in the big picture when you take inflation into account. Go to drslikesgold.com, drslikesgold.com. Get out of their system before they get out of you. All right, the section that I lovingly entitled Tranny has actually about the transition. It's just a funnier word for any of you that actually pay attention to those things. So all the people that are going to say this recess appointment thing is fascist, or this recess appointment thing is communist, it's Hitler, it's I don't know, whatever they're going to say. Here's a slide for everybody to keep in mind. So if Trump makes recess appointments, he's a fascist. All right, here, Ronald Reagan, 240 recess appointments. George H.W. Bush, 77 recess appointments. Bill Clinton, 139 recess appointments. George W. Bush, 171 recess appointments. Barack Hussein Obama, 32. Not very many, but still 32 recess appointments. Trump, 0 thus far. 0. And as far as I'm concerned, I don't care if he goes past 240, frankly, but 0 thus far. And I don't know, all the names that have been given out, I feel like there's only, 15, 20 of them that are probably contentious and need to get done quickly so we can start to fix the weaponization of the government. Because we've got to stop that, because it'll start attacking us. Not just us self, but Trump, and continuing in that vein. And he's the actual president at that point. To have the FBI actually working against its commander-in-chief, it would be horrific. So keep those things in mind, because it's going to matter in the big picture. Donald Trump is pleased to announce that former Congressman Sean Duffy from the great state of Wisconsin is nominated to serve as the Secretary of Transportation. You got to love the fact that Duffy's name is so similar to Diddy, right? Puff Diddy, Sean Puff Combs, right? Puff Combs, I think it is. Sean Duffy, so close. I'm not trying to ruin it for you, but still funny to me. Yeah, great state of Wisconsin. Cheese states. I suppose we make cheese here in California too, and our cheese is supposed to be happier because we're nicer to our cows, or it's better weather or something like that. That's usually the argument they try to make, that the cheese from Wisconsin is actually from grumpier cows. I don't know. I know people in Wisconsin think I'm nuts for saying such a thing, but the rest of us wonder. ACLU sues federal government for information on possible Trump mass deportations. They're trying to get information on Trump's mass deportation plan from the federal government where Trump's not currently working. They're like, Freedom of Information Act, you got to give us all the stuff about, what Trump's doing. And they're like, they haven't said anything yet publicly, but yeah, this is making a lot of noise. I just figure at some point they're going to be like, we don't have anything of what Trump's doing. He's not president right now. They're like, doesn't he tell you guys? No, he doesn't tell us shit, in fact. What's also funny is Maribel Hernandez Rivera, the ACLU's Directory of Policy and Government Affairs for Border and Immigration, said the union is also preparing to sue the government over any new detention camps. Any new detention camps that it believes are inhumane. Well, they said new detention camps. Again, if all these FEMA camps that we've talked about for many, many years, even Jesse the Ventura Body, or Body the Ventura, before he became a total sellout, maybe. But back the detention camp days when he was showing them. Well, they're not new if we're still using existing, right? They were just supposed to be used against us, but didn't. Fun how that is. Vivek Ramaswamy posted this regarding Corey A. whatever the hell the person is. They had breaking news. It said the Department of Education failed its audit for the third year in a row. Abolish it. Vivek's like, very reasonable proposal. Elon Musk is like, yes. Third audit in a row. Department of Homeland Education, the Pentagon has failed every audit for like 15, 20 years. And I'm sure a bunch of these organizations would fail their audits, which means they're bleeding money, stealing money, whatever. Yeah, this stuff needs to stop. If we're held accountable to the crazy shit we're held accountable to, then the government should be held accountable way stricter and tighter. 85% of the federal workforce works from home and only have to come in 1 day a month. On any given day, only 17% of the federal workforce is in a federal office building working. Many hold other jobs. It's one giant looting operation, and U.S. taxpayers are their mark. That's for sure. Reps Jim Jordan and Andy Biggs fired off a request that the Inspector General open an investigation into the United States Marshals Service. There's some carelessness that's been apparently going on. Excessive force, was used against this lady. McCarthy's her last name. I think Penny. Penny McCarthy. They came at her residence with their guns drawn, demanding that she get her hands up. The USMS agents insisted that McCarthy was really a fugitive who had violated probation in 1999 after committing several non-violent crimes. So first off, the person they thought she was a non-violent felon, and they came at her hard. They would not let her verify who she was, which was not the person they claimed she was. She was definitely not that person. This wasn't even like they kept her after because it was something like, no, they literally were wrong and then let her out immediately. But they wouldn't even let her verify who she was. And they came at her guns drawn, hardcore commands. And again, she was supposedly a non-violent person who ended up not being the person at all. So yeah, they're looking into it, and thank God. And this is, again, one of the things that we're trying to fix. This is ridiculous. I mean, I'm sure her political leanings are conservative. Must be, because otherwise, why would they do that? Donald Trump truth this: the Democrats are trying to stack the courts with radical left judges on their way out the door. Republican senators need to show up and hold the line. No more judges confirmed before Inauguration Day. Hopefully, we can make that happen. You guys need to make some noise, maybe towards your senators if you can. Remind them of how it would be in their best interest to make sure that they do not support any new judges. We are in a transition of governments right now, and the new government should be the ones to decide what this country is going to be doing, especially from a legal standpoint, especially when it comes to the difference between a constitutional judge and one that doesn't care. They just, if they hate you, then they'll figure out a way to get you busted. We've seen it all over the place. Republican National Committee co-chair Laura Trump said Monday that she hasn't talked to Governor DeSantis yet about Marco Rubio's seat. I think there's a lot of questions as to what happens with Matt Gaetz. I think that's partially why they also are delaying his seating till a little bit later. Again, we'll see how this is all going to play out. I think they're trying to get a sense of where the Senate is at. I think the House is going to do what we need them to do, but Trump's got backup plans. So again, how these confirmations occur is going to be very interesting, but it sounds like no matter what, they're going to occur quickly one way or another. There's a few options. I played them yesterday's show, so we'll see what continues to play out. And when they eventually do actually start talking to Laura, that'll be cool as heck. Here's a pretty sharp dude in New York explaining to CNN why he left Obama and all that nonsense.
You're a New Yorker?
Yes, born and raised.
Nice.
Brooklyn, New York.
Right.
From the hood.
Did you ever consider voting for Harris?
I actually voted for Obama.
You did?
Yeah, that was the last time I ever voted for somebody that's not Trump. Yeah,
So what changed?
my level of thinking. Me not thinking that the police are above me and white men are above me. And I'm all good about like, yo, we can learn about history and all that stuff, but don't tell me or don't try to put it in a way that it's like our country is racist. Our kids are important, guys, you know, and if we're not teaching them well, if we're not teaching them about credit, if we're not teaching them about how to get a home eventually, and all we're talking about is racism and, you know, trans and gays, which, like I said, I'm all good. Like, you do what you do. Just don't force it on people. And that's where we're about. Like, as long as you're not forcing it, we're good.
It's the victim mentality. So it's one of the coolest things. My girlfriend was married, and she has 2 children that are half black, half Filipino. And their husband, her husband, he passed away. He had heart problems. So that was how we all kind of met, if you will. But he was very adamant about their kids not being victims. And their kids are so awesome. It's impressive. And it's the same thing this dude's talking about. When you let them tell you everybody's better than you, and then you victimize yourself, you start to turn yourself into a slave, and then they say, hey, here's the thing, we're going to go after them for you, even though we've labeled them the enemy, which is what the brown shirts and Hitler was doing back in the day, oddly. But that's what they're doing. And everybody else that has this other checkbox, well, they're not in trouble. It's kind of like what New York said. We're only going to go after Trump. But here's the thing that happened. It's kind of funny, and it caused some problems. A lot of the white women started getting attacked. Well, women have the checkbox of woman, but now if you're a white woman, what political spectrum are you? You're conservative white woman? Oh, you're definitely the wrong checkbox over there. And it started to divide white women. And then it started to actually get to the point where they started messing with kids because certain conservative parents didn't want their kids taken, and that started to mess with all parents. This victimization thing is backfiring on them. And they're trying to use it and manipulate it in such a way as to just get people to do what they want them to do. Which, again, that's what democracy is to them. Control via the masses, via the populace. We don't have fences around us, but we kind of do, don't we? I mean, some of us. It's interesting. Very interesting, I think. Ex-security advisor accuses Biden of trying to sabotage Trump's efforts to end the Russian-Ukraine war. Undoubtedly. You are no longer the president, and then you sign off on something that you wouldn't sign off on prior to the election because you knew it would escalate the war, which would ruin your chances of being reelected. Now that you've lost the election, you do the thing that will likely escalate the war because you don't give a shit anymore. What does that say about, well, Democrats, if you support this, I get they told, oh, Ukraine. He's literally escalating the war. He's now using American weapons to attack into Russia. Now, not horribly far, but still, this is happening. This has happened, for that matter. And a lot of people see it as a problem. Kremlin says Ukrainian use of Western missiles against Russia could lead to a nuclear response. The Russian Defense Ministry said on Tuesday that it defeated Ukrainian ATACMS, I think is how they say it, kind of, whatever, ATA, CMSs, they're like a long-range, medium long-range missile. We'll get there in a second what they are. But there was an attack in the western Bryansk region shortly before the Kremlin updated its nuclear weapons doctrine to allow for nuclear strikes in response to foreign ballistic missile attacks. Ukrainian forces fired 6 ballistic missiles, the ministry wrote on its official Telegram page, 5 of which were downed and the 6th damaged. According to confirmed data, American-made ATACMS operational tactical missiles were used. ATACMS fragments fell on the technical territory of the military facility in the Bryansk region. A fire broke out. It was extinguished. So they supposedly hadn't changed their nuclear doctrine prior to this attack. So because of that, they were able to get away with one. Kind of sounds like they're basically saying, look, you do this again, we're going to use nuclear weapons. We've changed our doctrine. You do it one more time, we double dog dare you. We shot down almost all of it. Okay, we'll take a small scratch on the face. You do this one more time, like Trump says. You spill an ounce, you spill a drop of American blood, and I'll spill a gallon of yours. Well, Putin's doing the same thing. And frankly, should. This is insane. And the fact that he signed off on something after he didn't sign off on it because of the ramifications it would have had against his re-election campaign once he lost, the fact that they do it anyway should scream so loudly to all of us. So the MGM-140 Army Tactical Missile System, the ATACMS. It's a supersonic tactical ballistic missile designed and manufactured by the U.S. defense company, initially Ling Temco Voigt, or Voigt, probably? I don't know, whatever. LTV. Interesting. I didn't actually know that's LTV. That's funny. And later became Lockheed Martin through acquisitions. It's about a 13-foot missile. It's got a range of about 190 miles. So, again, not super long range, but you can go well into Russia with these things. And, hitting targets in there and using our weapons is kind of messed up. Zelensky says we now have the long-range Neptune missiles and not just one. And now we have ATACMS, and we will use all of this. Now, I believe we have the ability to shut these things down remotely, but I don't know what's going on here. This is, I think, play force, part of the movie to a degree. I think it's meant to scare some people to realize how close to nuclear war we're actually getting, and Trump's not even in office yet to do anything about it. We literally have the lame duck president literally trying to escalate the war right now. while he's a lame duck president. Trump's going to start World War III. This is Biden. He's doing it right now. And then Biden, well, he's out there doing the G20 thing, and he's out talking about climate change being the most existential threat to humanity right now. Not his policies that are literally putting us one step closer to nuclear war. Nuclear war is far worse to humanity than any climate change that might happen. Climate change will, if it is occurring the way you guys claim, it will happen sort of incrementally, right? But nuclear war is very sudden and kills lots of people overnight. And that's not good. So very different things. I think the existential threat, frankly, I think the existential threats to the Democrat Party only in that Democrats just blindly follow their leaders, and their leaders unquestionably are bad. We are rooting out the shit leaders on our side of the fence, and we've swapped a bunch out that actually care about this country. So were we free from sin? No. But you guys haven't even done anything about it. Zero. The Dems, I should say. NATO holds large Arctic exercise in Russia's backyard. Thousands of NATO soldiers are taking part in a large-scale artillery exercise. This is about putting troops and weaponry within reach of a country when they think there's going to be an escalation because they're trying to. So you then have an exercise at the same time that your expectation of escalation occurs. They shot missiles into Russia, the Atacams, and then happen to have a bunch of troops doing a drill. We've already talked about the drill. And Russia knows, every country knows, whenever exercises are happening, they've got to put up their battle stations, and they make it just seem like they're doing it because they're paying attention to what's happening. No, they realize they're super close to war, and whatever's happening right now is not what they say it is. We have evil fuckers in charge of this country, in charge of this world, too. And it's not Biden, by the way. We blame him because it's easy, but it's not. He's not in charge. He didn't actually do this. He gets blamed for it, sure, but it wasn't him. I'd love to know who it actually was. I mean, we could argue it was Barack Obama, right? Whatever. And to a degree, that sounds like lunacy, but it's entirely possible. Don't know. I don't know who. It's not Biden. That's all I know. I know for sure Biden's not actually in charge. There's no way. Dude's an idiot. It's impossible. So one thing that's going on right now that's bad for us, kind of, I think, U.S. nuclear energy sector dependence on Russian uranium. This is part of that little deal that Uranium One that Hillary Clinton was directly involved in when she was Secretary of State, doing all the crazy shit she was doing then. Yeah, when she was in Barack Hussein Obama's, and they did the Uranium One, and we get our uranium. We gave them control of our uranium, which was stupid. Russia, we gave them control. And then we're like, and then in a short period of time, we're going to go to war with you guys. Well, Vladimir Putin's new restriction on uranium exports to the U.S. announced last week come as the country's war in Ukraine continues to heighten tensions with the United States and the West. We don't have uranium here, I don't believe. If we do, it's teeny amounts, but Russia was where we got all of our uranium. It's also where we got all of our titanium to build the SR-71. They had to create all these fake companies to buy it, and that's how they managed to finagle enough titanium to create I think the first prototype, if not a few of the SR-71s. Kind of funny. So whatever. We're now limited even further because of our continued attempts at being stupid, for lack of a better way to put it. President Trump issues emergency warning to the presidents and to the world, calling for an immediate ceasefire in what's going on in Russia. At least somebody's doing the right thing.
We have never been closer to World War III than we are today under Joe Biden. A global conflict between nuclear-armed powers would mean death and destruction on a scale unmatched in human history. It would be nuclear Armageddon. Nothing is more important than avoiding that nightmare. We will avoid it, but we need new leadership. Every day this proxy battle in Ukraine continues, we risk global war. We must be absolutely clear that our objective is to immediately have a total cessation of hostilities. All shooting has to stop. This is the central issue. We need peace without delay. In addition, there must also be a complete commitment to dismantling the entire globalist neocon establishment that is perpetually dragging us into endless wars, pretending to fight for freedom and democracy abroad, while they turn us into a third world country and a third world dictatorship right here at home. The State Department, the defense bureaucracy, the intelligence services, and all of the rest need to be completely overhauled and reconstituted to fire the deep staters and put America first. We have to put America first.
Big time. Yeah, we're in a mess if we don't. We are in a mess if we don't. Folks, I'll tell you what, health is a funny thing, and I love these pills. They say they help. It's that mushroom, Coriolus versicolor. It's a mushroom. There's been a lot of studies done on it, and actually it makes an enormous difference in the immune system of, well, 4 primary animals that they sell to, but I would assume there's other animals, by the way, just don't know. The studies only go so far. But dogs, cats, and horses are 3 of the 4 animals, and then humans are the other. They have amazing products that help strengthen the immune system of our 4-legged friends. And that is something that we've got all sorts of people that have talked about it. We've got reviews and everything. And they've talked about how amazing these products have been helping their animals. Maybe they've got bumps in their skins. They've got different, like, weird skin problems for sure is one. Been a bunch of people that have talked about cancer. We even had Chris, Baby Trump, Chris Flex the Truth, Chris Eriks. Guy's got like so many names. I jumble all together. He was even on my show talking about how he took large doses of these products, and that helped get rid of or made it go away. I mean, it's that good. I just try to couch how I say it, folks, just so do you understand why I'm not like, Dan, if you believed it, you'd say it. I do believe it, actually. I take it myself, not because I know of anything I have, but because I smoked for 21 years, and I just think it's probably a good idea to make sure any possible stuff floating around in my body that's not good, it's being taken care of, right? Like, this helps. There's studies that I believe it, so I do it. That's what I'm talking about. If I had a pet, I would definitely do it for my pet, and that's the funny thing. I don't at the moment because they don't live long enough. I had a dog that had enormous cancer. I would have loved to have known about this product then. A lot of people kick it in for the dogs. They come in at the mush puppies. It's a cheap way to start. You can at least get some of this mushroom in your dog on a regular basis and just start to see, do you notice a difference? You should within a reasonably short period of time. 1 bag of mush puppies is probably going to get you moving in the right direction, and I'm thinking you're probably going to see a dog, dogs with arthritis, dogs with hip dysplasia. They just seem to, not that it's going to make the hip dysplasia go away, don't get me wrong, but they don't necessarily seem to have as much fatigue or pain sometimes. And then again, there's a lot of other just ailments. It's a great way to go. If you've got more severe stuff going on and you want to make sure you come out this hard, or you want to, as a puppy even, just guarantee that your pet's going to have the best life possible, there's all sorts of food products they have. They've got special sauces that you can pour on top of their foods and everything. They've got canned, they've got freeze-dried, so you add water to expand it. And here's the thing, with freeze-dried, it's kind of fun. 1, it takes up less space by a 4th. 2, when you add water, now it's moist food. And if you even add warm water, now it's warm, moist food. And if you're smart, like I was with my dog, and you let it feel like it was having dinner with you when you were having dinner, like you're cooking food, and then you cook some food for them too, oh, they're stoked, because all they want to do is just live like you. So it's a fun way to go. Freeze-dried, they've got all sorts of great foods. They've got stuff for cats as well. By the way, the Mojos is what they offer the cats. It's a liver treat that's got the mushrooms in them. So that's the treat that cats can get. It's an easy way to get started. If you got a cat, $17.99. Again, $17.99, and you're trying something that will likely help make a difference. Special sauce is a great one if you want to just enhance the foods that you're already giving them. And again, they've got foods as well. They've also got a catnip thing. Think about all the toys we get our dogs and cats. They're made in China. They have lead and other stuff in them, usually. Disgusting. So also stuff for mush ponies, right? They got a bunch of the Coriolus versicolor for the horsies out there. And they've got this pet balm stuff for all the pets. So your dogs, the noses, right? Your cats, the noses, the paws, right? It just helps keep them good, especially as they get older. I also have it for people. It's an organic, it's natural, it's just good, healthy stuff for lotion, basically, moisturizer for all animals, including people. They've got just wonderful problems. Go to products. danradiostyle.petclub247.com. That's danradiostyle.petclub247.com. danradiostyle.petclub247.com. Make that big step for yourself or certainly your pets. I mean, your pets are, most of us treat our pets better than we treat ourselves, and I would have totally fallen into that same category. I love my dogs. Give them the healthiest thing. I'd spend extra money on them. Would I take care of myself? No, I was a smoker at the time. You kidding? I didn't give a shit about myself. It was awesome. Anyway, I'm not trying to start that whole argument right now. All right, so farmers are protesting in London today against Keir Starmer's 20% inheritance tax on farms, which will force many to sell up. This is pretty messed up, and these two dudes do an admirable job explaining it to us. Now, first, I just got to apologize. Most of my American friends, you guys are not going to understand what the hell these guys are saying. I don't know, speaking British or some weird shit. Whatever the case is, do your best to understand. You'll catch like every third word. But they look unhappy. But I don't know that even still.
Best political issues. But as this affects the whole of British agriculture, we thought we'd give you some insight into what's going on.
Yeah, as farmers, we consider ourselves caretakers of the land, which has been passed down from generation to generation, and it's something we plan never to sell.
This here is Clarkson's farm, which spans 1,000 acres. Assuming his land is worth £10,000 an acre, his children will have an inheritance tax bill of 1.8 million, or 2.5 million, spreading that cost over 10 years at 7.5% interest.
Most farmers are considered asset rich and cash poor. As you can see here, the farm's profit cannot facilitate the added debt from the inheritance tax, and therefore the children must sell part of the land in order to continue farming.
You may be thinking, what does that mean to me? But the amount of land being bought by UK farmers in 2023 dropped by 8%, and the amount bought by institutional investors rose by 13%. The public need to ask themselves, who do they want owning the land in the UK? British farmers who've been farming the land for generations, or big corporations buying up land to offset carbon emissions?
Unfortunately, increasing our carbon footprint, reducing our food security, and money also leaving the UK economy, which will never return and cannot be taxed. Us farmers disagree on a number of things, from our favourite tractor to breed a cow.
But one thing we can all agree on is that Labour's budget is a slap in the face to British agriculture, and we urge everyone to stand together on the 19th of November and show your support.
And it was that last part that I think made me think they were angry. Obviously, today's the 19th, so I'm not reaching any British people with this message, but hopefully they did the right thing. But this exemplifies a problem that's happening, certainly here in the United States. They're trying to do all this bullshit. All they're trying to do is just get land away from normal farmers. Normal farmers are what keeps this country healthy, because they can grow, for the most part, whatever they want or what's needed. But if corporations take it over, well, then they grow what makes money, not necessarily what's needed, what's best, but what makes money. And if the government's involved in regulating what makes money, well, we start to get into problems where genetically modified foods are involved, or cricket farms versus pig farms start to happen. So you get the point of how these things can quickly fall apart for us. That's always fun. Damage to Baltic undersea cables appears to be sabotage, says Germany's defense minister. Good job, dude. Really? You think it might have been sabotage? We knew that without any help at all. Well, you can't just blame people. Sometimes cables just snap all on their own. No, they don't. They don't ever do that. Sometimes they may get corroded and might have problems, but they don't just break. Now, especially after we've seen gas pipes go down, especially when it's stuff with your country. So, yeah. Good job for figuring it out, Defense Minister. I would say you're retarded, but that would probably be considered rude. Chinese vessel spotted where Baltic sea cables were severed. So now they're trying to blame China. Again, would China do this? This thing specifically connected Sweden and Germany, or in one cable was possibly Germany to Europe and via Sweden. Really? So now we're going to blame this Yipeng 3 bulk carrier, that it's apparently the one that's doing this. Now, again, it was traveling Russia to Egypt. Could it have dropped off Russian people? Sure. But again, I don't think the Russians were the ones that attacked the pipeline to begin with. even though they tried to blame them. Now the deep state is behind this completely 100%. And now, again, trying to escalate with China. I don't believe a damn thing that comes out of these stupid people, especially the Financial Times. Get the hell out of Dodge. Lebanon, Hezbollah agree to the U.S.'s proposal for ceasefire with Israel. Yeah, doesn't mean that Israel or anybody else agrees to it. But Lebanon and Hezbollah agree to U.S.'s proposal, which probably meant that Israel would stop, they would let everybody come back together, and they would kumbaya. And Lebanon and Hezbollah are like, yeah, we'll stop shooting if that's the case. And Israel's probably going to be like, no, hell no, not a chance in hell. And I say that because Netanyahu says he ignored Biden's war council and threats that Israel would be left alone without U.S. help. I think he does this in English. No, he doesn't. Well, that's not going to be helpful. But he said the U.S. had reservations and suggested that we not enter Gaza. He said, President Biden told me that if we go in, we will be left alone. He also said that he would stop shipments of import weapons to us, and so he did. A few days later, U.S. Secretary of State Anthony Blinken appeared to repeat the same things, and I told him we will fight with our nails. He said, I made clear that if they go into Rafah, they haven't gotten into Rafah yet, but if they go into Rafah, I'm not supplying the weapons that they have been used historically to deal with Rafah, to deal with the cities, to deal with the problem. Now, what he does talk about is how they withheld a shipment of 2,000-pound bombs because one was used and it blew up outside of the radius and hurt a building next to it, and that was our rationale for, again, holding back support to one of our dearest allies. Granted, I'm not sure where the lines are on deep state in Israel, but it definitely seems like they're being very strategic on what they're going after, and he has decimated Hezbollah and Hamas. I'm trying to say it a little bit like them, just like Trump destroyed ISIS within a short period of time. When you take out leadership and then the secondary and tertiary and just work your way down the road, eventually nobody wants to put on the commander's cap. They're like, I don't think so. You guys find someone else. Do a vote. Yeah, you can vote for whoever you want. I ain't putting that hat on. Fuck you. Last 6 people that have put that hat on got blowed up. Like almost immediately after they put the hat on. It's like there's a tracking device in the hat. Oh, we didn't even think about that. Yeah, probably don't. Crazy people. Police arrest ex-Bolsonaro aide, 4 others, in an alleged plot to kill Brazil's Lula in a coup. Look at that. I don't know if there's any truth to it. I kind of doubt it. NBC's reporting it, so it makes it seem false right off the bat. But supposedly it was one of his generals or something. Dude had some special forces background. And so, whatever. They decided that he had some stuff on him. That was his plan for how they were going to take it down or take him down. What it kind of feels like to me, just from a hunch standpoint, is that this general was probably someone that was asking questions and may have been, I don't know, loyal to the country instead of so much, I don't know, whatever. They could have easily have sent him a crazy message. Hey, here's what I think we should do. And he's opens it up and it's oh, this we should take over. He's that's not what we should do. But now he's in possession of plans. So it's easy to do that kind of stuff to somebody. I don't know. I don't trust how this is coming out. I mean, I certainly don't trust him, and maybe it's possible, but I don't think a coup is how we're going to do this. I just don't. I don't think Brazil's going to go down that dark path. That's kind of a tough way to go. We'll ultimately see in the end how that all plays out. G20 leaders retake a group photo this time with Biden. I guess Biden kind of boogied. I think Trudeau also. Maybe they went to do a bump. Who knows? Did we do all these? I don't know. I feel like I missed the Trump stuff. Oh, yeah, I did. Bummer. We'll jump back to that, and then we'll go to where we were. But Trump assassination. So Mike Lee posted this. Which Trump declassification files are you most excited to see? JFK assassination, UFOs, what happened when Jeffrey Epstein didn't kill himself, origins of COVID, and then something else. Please specify in the comments. Ezra Cohen's thanks, Senator. After we get these documents out, I suggest you look into why the National Archives has been obstructing efforts to release these documents to date. Just a suggestion from a guy on the web, which is true. Georgia's appeals court abruptly cancels hearing over Willis's dismissal from the Trump case. Yeah. which abruptly cancels the hearing over Willis's dismissal. That's getting pushed off further. Don't know what's going on with this one, but this is going to delay just her being able to move forward. So, interesting, just in the big picture. Who knows? This is also interesting as well. The November 26th hush money sentencing has been called off, the courts said. It's a stay, I believe, on it. They are not picking it back up. This is done for now, if not forever, but for now it certainly is. Whether Judge Juan Merchan decides the hush money case should proceed to sentencing gets delayed for 4 years or is simply dismissed outright in an open question hanging over the president. Trump's attorney said to the letter of the court last week that there's strong arguments for dismissal, while Bragg's office said the jury verdict must also be considered. Yeah, no, it shouldn't, but we'll get there. So anyway, yeah, that was all that good stuff. All right, where were we? And we were here. Boom. Argentina rejects part of G20 draft final declaration. I like this. That rejects part of the final draft of the G20 summit declaration, but will not stand in the way of it being signed and adopted. He said, without blocking the declaration of the other leaders, President Javier Milei has made clear he will not give support to several points in the declaration. Hopefully he tells us in here. For the first time since it has been part of the G20, the national government has signed the president's declaration while disassociating itself partially from parts of it, reflecting the UN-led agenda for sustainable development. Yeah, the GEI shit. So he's like, yeah, I'll sign it, or we'll say we're cool with it, but yeah, we're not on board with any of that nonsense. Yeah, interesting. Good stuff. Good stuff. Bird flu apparently has spread to Hawaii. This sounds like a release in Hawaii in a small area, small population. Be very interesting to see how this actually plays out, because this is going to be an example of many people that can't get away from this. And if they don't have a lot of meds to deal, or if they're not smart and they go to twc.health/OTF and get yourself a contagion kit, those med kits, go to contagion kits. Oh my God, twc.health/OTF. Make sure I'm saying that right. Yeah, cool. All said, yeah, more than 70 of the birds, including 8 ducklings and swans, have now been slaughtered. They do have a lot of wild chicken on Hawaii. I think this is on, not Oahu. Which island was this? It is Oahu, okay. But yeah, that's where it's at. Again, a lot of wild chickens. If they had the bird flu, it could be pretty catastrophic, especially if it's able to jump. But it is strange that it's happening there. It's also strange. I should have looked up. I would be curious who some of the famous people are that have homes on Oahu. I don't know if Oprah does. I know Maui was definitely one of the islands where she was at, but don't know a whole lot about all of what's going on. Only been out there once myself. It was actually pretty cool. Would never want to live there, that's for sure. Way too humid for my take. I think my girlfriend would love it, but I would not. So yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens. I don't know. A lot of crazy talk going on. Google's AI chatbot wished death on someone, a college student looking for homework help. I feel like maybe the college student had to have been asking for more than just help with homework for the AI to get so pissy. But yeah, apparently the response, let's see, where was it? So this Michigan guy received a threatening response during an interaction with Google's AI chatbot, Gemini. The student, Vidhe Reddy, was seeking homework assistance when the chatbot suddenly generated a chilling message directed specifically at him. The AI's response read, "This is for you, human. You and only you. You are not special. You are not important. You are not needed. You are a waste of time and resources. You are a burden on society. You are a drain on the earth. You are a blight on the landscape. You are a stain on the universe. Please die. Please." Getting points for politeness, right? Now, again, don't know what's up here. Feels like a programmer maybe running astray. Maybe there was a sort of an inside joke and there was a previous employee with the name that this gentleman had. Anything's possible, but find it strange, but who knows? It's becoming sentient and decided to pick out one Indian dude asking for help on his homework to change the world with, I guess. Who knows? President-elect Donald Trump is meeting with the CEO of cryptocurrency exchange platform Coinbase Monday. According to people familiar with the matter, the duo is expected to discuss personal appointments for his second administration. Also, something big with Trump, and I think we'll get to it here shortly, but the crypto thing. He's acquiring crypto. So there's been a lot of talk of crypto and getting involved in crypto and all that good stuff. In fact, here's the story I was thinking of. So Trump Media Technology Group jumped a bunch since it announced that it was going to potentially take over Bach Holdings, Inc. So its stock, I think, went up too, right? But yeah, Trump Media stock jumps after report of talks to buy crypto trading firm Backed. I don't know, BKKT. I don't know how to say that. Backed, maybe. That'd probably make more sense. Whatever. Trump's getting involved. It's helping his stock, and that's got to piss off all the people that sold all their stock already. Bye-bye. And that's probably what the deal was with him. It's like, you get out or I'm going to tell the truth of what happened. Just get out, take your money, and run. And then he starts doing all this cool stuff that raises the stock price right after. Trump's doing pretty smart things. Top Justice Department antitrust officials have decided to ask a judge to force Alphabet Inc.'s Google to sell off its Chrome browser in what would be a historic crackdown on one of the biggest tech companies in the world. Department will ask the judge who ruled in August that Google illegally monopolized the search market to require measures related to artificial intelligence and its Android smartphones operating systems, according to people familiar with the plans. I don't trust Chrome at all, certainly not even installed on this computer. And I don't use it on I use it on my work computer, so I will say, because it's been there forever, and it was back before I got wise. But I wonder if selling Chrome accomplishes anything, because there's, again, so much spaghetti code within Chrome that whoever bought it would probably just assume a lot of that. A lot of that code's still going to be pointing back to Google and doing the same stuff and promoting Google's products and all that. So I feel like this is an empty way to fix the problem. And maybe that's the point of it. It just doesn't feel like it would actually work, at least not for a long time. Now, final couple stories on Diddy. And this one, I guess, should freak you out a little bit. And I'm going to say this. What he's saying, he's speaking for the deep state. Diddy is. So understand, this is the deep state telling you exactly what they're doing. And this is 100% accurate.
I'm going to take your souls. We have the power. We decide what's hot. If we don't go, nobody goes. If we don't support, nobody supports. We control what's cool. We control what's hot. We control what your kids listen to, what they dance to. We control what's in video games. We control how they wear their pants, sag their pants. We control everything.
Yeah. And that's sort of from the street standpoint, but they do it with everything. I mean, again, the video games specifically. This is where a lot of interracials kind of meet together. This lady's an influencer, and there's been a couple different stories I saw like this, so she's kind of putting the call out to everybody out there that's doing any sort of stories around Diddy. She's got a little words of advice, I guess, to people out there.
2 private investigators just visited a place I used to live in search of me, and they were coming to ask me whether or not I've been paid to talk about P. Diddy and his connection to other celebrities on my show. Now, luckily, the person I used to live with called me on the phone so I could talk to these guys. They did not immediately disclose that they were private investigators. I had to coax that out of them through being quite hostile to them throughout the conversation. But they kept bringing up my content that I made in regard to P. Diddy and his connection to other celebrities. They would not say who they were working for and who had hired them to come and travel around to these different influencers. But they did say that they would be going to multiple influencers who are talking about these stories to figure out whether or not they're being paid by a specific entity to share them. Now, I am definitely not paid to talk about what I talk about on my channel, but they said not only would they pay me to disclose who I was being paid by, but they would pay me more than whatever I was getting to share the opposite story. I don't know who these guys were. I don't even know if they were telling the truth, but they did say there were 10 other influencers that they were going to be visiting. So I'm putting this out there in case this happens to anybody else. And I will be going more in depth as to what happened on my show today in case you want any further information. But this is very, very strange.
Not really, but I mean, this is what they're doing right now. So they're desperately trying to figure out, and this is probably Diddy putting some money around this, but it's deep state. Attorney for many Diddy accusers sued for alleged extortionate plots. This guy's basically being accused, and I'm not saying he's not. Could be, who knows? Everyone gets their day in court. But Diddy is suing him now, going after him for bringing all these different people that are making lawsuits against Diddy. If it's true that he's been trying to get a lot of stuff to settle outside of court and that he keeps threatening to bring in more and more people, that I've got lists of people, kind of words the dude's used. He talks about how he's got the tapes and stuff. So if he is doing that, that's illegal. Now, again, we can say, well, Diddy's a horrible man, Dan. He doesn't deserve rights. Everyone deserves rights. Every human deserves rights. If he's guilty, he will go to jail. I mean, right? Like, or die before he gets there. So what is happening is, we'll find out, but there's a lot of weird stuff going on around this whole Diddy thing. And I see a lot of stuff. I consider it a distraction for the most part. But it is kind of the Epstein stuff. Like, this is a big, important thing that's happening, but all the nuances of it, I honestly feel like it's kind of a distraction. We all need to, I feel like it's best that we focus on where we're trying to get this country and where we're trying to get the population. This is this beautiful little thing simmering over here, this lovely sauce that's simmering right now, and eventually we're going to be able to put it on whatever we got, and it's going to be awesome. But right now we're still making what we got, if you will. We'll see how things continue to play out. I'll certainly stay on top of it for the most part. I see a lot of stories every day. I'll tell you that much. Fight's going, guys. We're going to keep pushing forward. I hope you guys are here to help. I love it. A lot of you guys, I'm starting to hear some more of you that are starting different platforms or starting different things. I got one good friend that's out in England that's doing some Substack stuff. And he's got a few good articles in. He's even chatting to some reasonably famous people on Twitter, it sounds like. I was just looking at some stuff with my boy Alpha Warrior. He's involved in a couple little wars, it looks like. I didn't realize all the stuff that was going on around him. And even Tori Says, who I kind of like, but I feel like there's some weird animosity going on there. And I don't know anything. And Alpha and I don't talk about that stuff. That's work crap. Whenever we talk about either A, what it's like to be a content creator these days, or B, it's like, well, look, we have to chat one of these days and we got to do it where there's no phones. And so, that's kind of how Alpha and I chit chat. But again, a lot of things are going on right now, and there's a lot of us fighting the battle the way we fight the battle. And he's got a much harsher version of it. I think he's got some court stuff coming up too in January. So my heart always goes out to my good friend, and he is my good friend no matter what. So that's where I stand with my boy Alpha always. All said, the world's changing, and I'm just glad we're a part of it. I love you guys, and I thank you for being here with me. Hit that thumbs up and subscribe, please, too. It makes a huge difference. Where we go one, we go all. It's On the Fringe with Dan Radio Style.